probably see it a little bit too.
Ready to get smoked?
You all right?
What do you mean, yeah, right?
I'll smoke you.
Okay.
I make double the horsepower.
You can't. All right, guys, what is going on? We have a bunch of stuff to get done in this video on the F100. We're finally doing stuff on this again. I kind of neglected it for a long time, and I feel obligated to do a little bit of work to this truck because we're going drag racing, finally. We have a little grudge race between me and Sean. Sean in a super cab kind of called me out, like low-key, kind of like a little friends deal. I should be able to beat him pretty easily. I don't want to like get ahead of myself, but anyways, I'm gonna do a little bit of prep work on the truck to make sure that, you know, I at least put my best effort in. I barely make like 200 horsepower. His truck makes right around 4. So he makes a lot more power to me, but I don't know if he can put it to the ground. But I have a really good drivetrain setup behind this thing. But anyways, we have a long list of stuff to do, and it's 7 o'clock because that's when I get home from work. So let's get right into this because I only have like 30 minutes of sunlight left. So the first thing we got to go ahead and do is I want to kind of get underneath the truck, check every single fluid. This thing is kind of leaking a lot of diff fluid, which sucks. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a puddle right there. It's not really good, so I want to see why it's leaking. I don't need to necessarily fix the leak, but I got to make sure at the bare minimum it at least has fluid in it, because I don't want to, you know, cook my rear end doing, you know, 70 miles an hour or so across the beams. So I want to check that, check tranny fluid, check oil, and then get some ignition stuff. And we're gonna focus on the engine, try to get basically as much power as I can get out of this worn out turd 302 as I can. Speaking of the devil, look who shows up. Blow it up before we race. Woo! Ready to get smoked?
You all right?
What do you mean, yeah, right?
I'll smoke you.
Okay.
I make double the horsepower.
You can't put it to the ground with those. How old are those?
You ain't got no tread on your tires either.
That is true. I don't know if I showed that already. Yeah, I don't have any tread left on my tires. Look at this.
I think I'm gonna put the fronts on the rear and the rears on the front. And no, actually, just they're slicks. They get better surface area, more traction. Greg, guess what? What? They're building a Harbor Freight in Poway.
Really?
Yeah.
I smashed my finger in the jack.
That sucks.
Are you good?
I think it's bleeding.
Oh, good for you. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to check on this thing, drive shaft feels good. That's good. I'm going to check the torque on the drive shaft U-bolts, because as you guys know, I've had some issues with the drive shaft in the past. The second thing I'm going to go ahead and check is actual fluid inside the diff. Damn it, I forgot it's a 3/8 socket extension bit. It's not a freaking wrench. Well, I guess while I'm under here, I might as well go ahead and check torque on all of the bolts that go around it. Check that real quick. This thing leaks, but it's leaking out of the pinion seal, so that's good. The first thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is take this little fill plug out. Okay, forgot the rear end's up in here. Well, I know it's got fluid in it. Next thing I want to do is try and fix the rear end leak. So I think it's coming out of the pinion seal in the front, but I just want to double check right here and here. So I'm going to clean off this surface and make sure there's no oils left on it. And I'm just going to do a little smear of silicone on the bottom of this and the bottom of this. All right, now I'm just kind of checking the backlash on the actual gears. I think these gears need to go into a gear shop and get re-gapped. I can move the tire a little bit. So I want you guys to just focus on the tire itself. So it's kind of hard to see. You can see I have a little bit of play just as the wheel spins right there. See that play? That play is when basically the rear end's back and I go ahead and dump the clutch and it slams forward like that. That's what blows rear ends up, blows drive shafts up too. Unfortunately, I don't have a drive shaft hoop welded on my frame anywhere. But this truck doesn't make very much power, so it should be okay. I think in the future I'm gonna go ahead and put, because you can see my my drive shaft U-joint doesn't have a crazy amount of angle to it. So what that can cause is, you know, the U-joint will end up being dry and won't lubricate. That's probably why I'm blowing U-joints up. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and pop the leaf springs off and then make a little, basically like a little piece that's kind of angled. And what it does is it offsets the rear end down or up like maybe 2 degrees. So I need to angle it down a hair to kind of get a little more angle in my drive shaft. I thought I had the measurements right. I did this when I was 17. So I'd say I did okay, but I definitely need to go back and change it because I'm prematurely wearing out my U-joints and blowing them up. So front of the truck's up in the air, so this basically puts it just a hair uphill actually. If not, it'll be perfectly level. So I want to make sure, I just hit my hand on the drive shaft, that no fluid is coming out. I want to make sure this thing's topped off all the way. If you're gonna go race your car and beat the crud out of it, take the time and go ahead and do the maintenance. And also take the time after work and make a YouTube video on a Wednesday night because you got to upload on Thursday. So there's that. Oh, yep, still got fluid. Alright, yeah, this thing's full. So basically, you guys will probably notice what I just did is I sprayed a bunch of brake clean on the surface of this rear end. You notice there's a bunch of silicone on it. So what what brake clean does to silicone is it literally rubberizes it. As you can see, I can literally peel the RTV out of here because it doesn't seal with the dam. So I'm just going to put new stuff inside the crack. It should help a lot. At least do something, you know. It's never not going to be perfect unless I take the rear end out of the truck. I don't have time to do that right now because I got to pull axles and do a bunch of other stuff, and I'm just running an 1/8 mile against Sean, so I don't want to overcomplicate things. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just check the fluid on this thing. I haven't checked it in a while, so I'm just going to go make sure everything's good. So, as you guys can clearly see, a lot of you guys asked me this. I do not have a T5 in my truck. If you guys can see, it's kind of hard to tell. This is a Tremec, basically a TKO. It's a 3550. So it's got the same case as a TKO. That's definitely it. Okay, I just want to make sure. Alright, feast your eyes on the bottom of the Craig 909's less than 200 horsepower, worn out 302. So I don't want to be that guy at the track that's leaking oil at every single orifice in the truck. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean the bottom of this thing. The motor needs to come out of this truck in simple terms. I think you guys all could have guessed that. It needs an oil pump, it needs camshaft, needs heads, needs pistons, needs rings. It needs a bunch of stuff. Okay, so there's a junkyard video coming up that you guys are going to see in the future. I don't know when I'll upload it. I'm not quite done filming it. But this thing had a kind of sketchy shake on the freeway at high speeds above like 85. And I was thinking either wheel bearing or tie rods, because you got to keep in mind this thing's got a coil and a half cut out of the stock spring, so it's lowered like 4 inches in the front, and since it's I-beam, it's cambered in. That puts a lot of strain on the spindles and the wheel bearings. So what ended up happening is you can hear it. You can probably see it a little bit too. I don't know what you guys can and can't see, but basically this thing, it's the same on the other side. They're both kind of worn out, which makes sense when you got like 2 degrees of camber or 3 degrees of camber on a spindle that's, I don't know, 50 years old. The wheel bearings go out. I did do the wheel bearings when I first got the truck about 5 years ago, but it's time to do them again, so I'm gonna do wheel bearings. I could probably, I mean, they feel good. Like I could probably get away with just tightening the nut. But it's been 5 years. I beat the crud out of my truck, so I'm just going to do wheel bearings. They're cheap, so I'm just going to pop them off, put new ones in it. Won't take very long. I think the outer one's the bad one, because that's the one that gets all the strain. The inner one's probably fine. So that is something I don't know if I'll do in this video, but we definitely need to get done. But anyways, let's get to the engine, because it's kind of the important part. Alright guys, so this is the one thing that's really important to me right now is the charging system on my truck. So, I mean, I don't have any clips of it, so it's going to be hard to me kind of like paint the picture for you guys. But basically my truck is like the stock alternator. I think they're like 40 amps because they don't have, you know, electronic fuel pumps or any sort of stuff like that.
So what I have here is a Power Master. It's a brand new, fresh, rebuilt unit. I got it from my work. It was just a spare that I had lying around, so I bought it off of them. This is a little bit high. It's 140 amp. I don't really need that much power, but it's a one wire. So that's the biggest thing, is I can get rid of my voltage regulator on the truck, and this will replace it. So basically at idle on my truck, it doesn't have enough charging power at idle anymore, and not very much at RPM either, because at idle sometimes my headlights flicker, sometimes the fuel pump surges, just stuff like that. It's getting really annoying. I know that the actual spark plugs are not getting the adequate you know, voltage that they probably could. So this is a brand new unit. You can see the back of it's just a straight up one wire. I got to just do the positive lead right there, and then a ground right in this little stud right there to the actual engine block. Super easy to hook up and get rid of a lot of issues. So on my truck here, it's right here. It's been in my truck for actually since I bought it. This is the one I don't even know if we changed it. We might have changed it once. You can see the whole harness that comes off of it and goes all the way up to here, and it goes in our voltage regulator box right here, which goes to the battery. We can delete all this because we're not going to need it anymore. So this whole wiring harness will pretty much just hang there and or go in the trash, which is going to be kind of interesting because I don't really have the time to rewire a bunch of stuff before I go drag racing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in and get it finished up. All right, so you can see the difference between our old and our new unit here. So this thing was obviously pretty worn out and beat. It still worked. It just, I mean, I have too many accessories on my truck right now for it to actually work from what I'm doing. And then this is the new unit. The only difference is this is basically a GM unit, and so it won't quite align. So you can kind of see the spacer differences are a little bit off. So I'm just gonna have to basically either cut a shim to fit that, or just do a bunch of washers because I don't have the time to make an actual like correct shim, or I can just be real ghetto and I can just put a bunch of these nuts in the way. Yeah, I don't know, I gotta figure some spacer thing out. I might have some Boss tube to where I can make some sort of a actual shaft, yeah, I gotta get that in the truck. Dang, look at that, all clean. There's no, oh, I almost dropped my light there. No more wiring over here, so that's good. Then we just got the battery connector right there. Everything's all cleaned up, back the way it should be. I don't have any junk wiring all over the place, so thank God. Yeah, that was really sketching me out. I was like, uh-oh. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is actually make sure that the gap doesn't, you know, throw anything off. So basically, I'm gonna take the difference between these two. So if I measure from end to end, this one's exactly 2 inches, funny enough, and I'm guessing, yep, this one's 3 inch. So all I gotta do is add an inch spacer because this setup, the old setup, worked fine. So if this is an inch longer than this one, I just gotta take a tube that fits my bolt, which I have here, as you can see. Fits the bolt perfectly. This is the bolt that the alternator mounts to. Then there's just a small piece of tube. Sorry, it's upside down. It's really hard for me to get all this stuff in frame. But yeah, this tube slides perfectly in here. I just had this lying around, so I'll go ahead and I'll cut this in a 1 inch section and go ahead and just add it to the back, and it'll be a perfect little spacer and it won't be ghetto. All right, so my breathers are probably like 100% should be replaced. They're definitely seen better days, but this is just a temporary thing. So I basically have a red solo cup here with, or pink solo cup in my case, with a simple green concentrate in it. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of dilute it with water because I don't think I really need that much. I've never tried it, so I wanted to see if it actually works. I think this is how you clean like Canon filters or something like that. I haven't really looked into it too closely, but hopefully that gets a lot of the grease and grime off of it. If not, oh well. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the wheels off and figure out what's going on with these wheel bearings. So tomorrow morning I can go into the parts store, get the bearings, put it like that. Wheel bearing, they don't look bad. That's what I didn't understand. And so I was looking around and I was realizing that this actual backing plate was wobbling back and forth on the beam. So I was like, uh-oh, my kingpins are bad. That's not good. Basically, you have a grease point on the bottom of the kingpin and the top of the kingpin. So there's 2 Zerk fittings here. So what I did is have a little mini grease gun. I went ahead and just greased them just to see, and it actually filled in all the play. So that means that these things were just completely dry.
and didn't have any grease in them because I just simply greased the top and bottom. And you can see there's grease oozing out of the bottom right here. I think that feels kind of bad, but it seemed to fix it. So if I go to the other side, I'm gonna try it, see if it changes anything. See a little grease fitting down here. Or what's left of it, jeez. Let's put this guy on. Pump grease into this thing. Oh, I see grease coming out of the top. Means it's probably full. I mean, that helped a lot, but I definitely still think I have a kingpin problem, not a wheel bearing problem. But that did help. Alright guys, so I finished the whole thing, install, all knitters in, you can see it right there, it works really well. The harness I took this whole harness out because it was for the voltage regulator and I didn't think I needed it. However, my starter, my gauge lights, my gauges, the headlights, the ignition, everything wires through that harness, and I didn't realize it, so I had to wire it back in. So now it all works, it's just a little messy, but I just want it to work because I'm drag racing, I just want everything to function. It doesn't need to look pretty, so I'll fix all this later. But this thing is done, I don't have to worry about it. And then I took the bearings out, repacked them and put them back in. They were good. I didn't need to replace them. They're actually in very good shape. So I just repacked them with new grease, put them back together. And then greasing those kingpins actually did a ton on the truck. Nice. So greasing those front kingpins actually did a ton. It not only got rid of the play a lot, there's literally almost no play left, but it made the truck so much easier to turn. I mean, you think about it, that's where the beam pivots on the spindle when you turn. So if it's not greased, it's not gonna turn very easy. So once we grease that, I mean, I went and drove it around and the thing drives so much nicer now. It's almost like a power steering. So if you have a manual steering truck with I-beams, grease those upper and lower kingpin pivots, make sure they're nice and greased up because it definitely made a big difference. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and drive this thing and get to the good stuff. Alright guys, going back down to the dash cam. I haven't done this in a while. Really old GoPro, so I'm trying to get the best quality I can for what I got. But I'm gonna do a couple test passes, just make sure everything feels good. I really just want to get the truck down from a dig and make sure it feels alright. I'm a little bit worried about it. But I'm excited, the truck feels good. It steers so much easier now that I grease those fittings of the beams. I never even thought about it, I mean, they're so caked in oil and grease, I didn't even know there was a circ fitting there. So, everything feels good. Sean's, funny enough, he's in front of me. He's doing the same thing. Sean's having a really hard time with spinning, obviously, when he has a mild 460 with 35-inch tires. It's kind of hard to get him to grip. This isn't too bad because of the short gearing. But I'm not going to beat the crud out of it here. I want to just play it safe till I get to the drag strip, and then, I'll break it there if I want to. I think Sean's gonna try to dig right here. There he goes. I'm just gonna slip the clutch. like, I know a lot of you guys can probably relate to this. It's slow, literally like the slowest thing that I could possibly find. But like, it's so loud and I built it and I have so much fun with it that like, I don't even care. I love this truck. I will beat the crap out of it and do, you know, bang gears and then 60 miles an hour after all that work. And I'll be satisfied. You know why? Because I built it and I'm happy with this thing. You know, everything on this truck I did myself. So whether it's, you know, slow or not, I really like it. You know, I'm happy with the way it's performing right now. It's still running good. Short shifter coming for this thing, but it won't be here until Monday. Today is Friday. Tonight we're drag racing, so that's a big bummer. So I'm gonna pull up here and just kind of just check everything over, and we'll close the video out.
Found all the cops. Alright guys, well, for our little test and prep, I think that was pretty successful, not only with all the work that I did, just to at least give myself some sort of peace of mind. I think the actual testing part went really well. The truck drove really great, so I'm really stoked about that. So I'm really excited I get to go drag racing against Sean tonight and a bunch of other my friends. We're all just kind of grouping up and doing a little drag night. Our drag strip is open and spectators are allowed, so it's super cool. Ramona drag strip, San Diego, California. We're gonna do a little grudge racing tonight against all my friends, just like we did in high school as well as college. Those two videos I'll put down in the description. If you want to watch this drag race back when I was in high school and early college, I'll put those videos in the description. So go ahead and check those out. You'll have a good time watching them. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a longer video, but I definitely wanted to just kind of bring the truck back in the mix and show everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win, me or Sean? I don't know. I've kind of had that up in the air for a while. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.